guys, we've been away for a little bit, and Ryan, it's good to be back. In the time we've been away, I've lost a beard, gained a pair of glasses, and the Sharks won the Curry Cup.
You're looking sharp, and I must commend you on your boys from Durban doing it in the Curry Cup. Those beautiful letdowns, Western Province, and it then translates into the Stormers as well. They didn't rock up on the day, but the Sharks were excellent. I thought to win away at Newlands, incredible. Well done to them.
Yeah. But moving even forward from there, because the Curry Cup feels like it's been lots happened since then, and that's mainly based around the England Boks game that we saw last Saturday, and the huge backlash to the final moments of that encounter, which saw the Owen Farrell on under Estes, and we've been chatting a little bit about it, and I just thought, it's been such a talking point, and I'm really still surprised that we're sitting here on a Wednesday and still chatting about what happened in those final moments, because I look back at that game and I go, the Boks were really so much better than England in so many key facets of play. They should have been 15 points ahead then, and then that tackle wouldn't have mattered. And yet they're still using it as motivation, and we're seeing videos pop up from training where they're showing Estes and how we should be tackling and dropping the shoulder. It's all getting a little bit overboard for me, and maybe even bordering on petty, and I'm not quite sure what the thinking is behind that.
The South African rugby public in general is failing to separate a couple of different issues here. So I think there's three key things here. One, like you say, we should have beaten that England side comfortably. This is, for me, the worst England side under Eddie Jones, under Eddie Jones's reign. And the balance of play, the game shouldn't have been that tight. Two, it was a moment of refereeing incompetence. Of course it was. And it was quite dangerous play, in fact. But it's an isolated incident. Let me not say isolated incident, because there's been some really bad calls in rugby this year. But it was an incident that was isolated to that time in the game. And yes, he got it wrong. Yes, he bottled it. Yes, it was incompetence. But then it leads me to my third point. You can't assume if that had gone our way and we had gotten the penalty like we should have, that South Africa would have won that game. It still takes a lot of temperament and balls, quite frankly, to have kicked the 3-pointer that won that game from that angle at Twickenham. So you've got to separate the three. Yes, that was terrible. That was a terrible decision. And then and in the wake of that, it's just been. I mean, I laughed when I saw the video of it. I thought it was quite funny, to be honest. But I mean, it's just an ongoing thing now. Just move on. I'm like, just move on. It's like the win wasn't a given, but that is the connection that people are making. We get the penalty, we win the test.
And I think just on that point, I mean, I chatted to a very highly regarded defence coach who's working overseas at the moment, and I was interested to hear, he took a different line. He said to him, it was a big collision. He didn't have that much of a problem with the Farrell tackle. I believe it was definitely at least a penalty, because I don't think he ever got that right arm wrapping. Yeah. So that's fine. But there are different views on it, and in that moment, the referee's got to make a call straight away. Okay, sure, it was a home team decision, but it's just interesting to hear that views of the defence coach who said it's a massive collision, a smaller guy against a big guy who bounced off before he could do the wrapping of the arms. But taking away from that, he said straight up, the Boks should never ever have been unable to be at least well ahead against an England team that is so under strength. And we can't look away from the fact that nearly 20 players were unavailable through injury, suspension, even a retirement. That England team was not anywhere near to the one that came here to play in South Africa in June, and particularly the pack. And the Boks bottled the line out, and they didn't actually gain all that much ascendancy at scrum time. And I'm just confused as to why we're not looking at those fundamentals, and indeed the goal kicking, as you mentioned, because Pollard still needed to kick that kick, and he'd missed one from quite a dead straight in front of the poles. It was far distance, but he just drifted away. So there's no guarantee he would have got that penalty.
Yeah, it's an indictment on the Boks that they lost that test. There's no question about that. Like even the England side that came here for that first incoming tour, I mean, that wasn't their best side either, but we negotiated that challenge fairly well. And so you go to England with an opportunity to beat them home and away in the same year, which hasn't been done that often in Boks history. But and then bottle it like that against that England side. It's an indictment on the Boks, right? And it's, I mean, the incident, the tackle incident, actually done Rassie a favor, because it shifted all of the focus away from the performance and the failings in that performance onto what would have been a hypothetical win, you know. And so we just lost completely. And when I say we, I'm speaking about the South African rugby fraternity, like broadly, just lost complete perspective. And all that mattered was that moment. The preceding, 80 before that, seemed to just kind of drift into non-existence. When the talking point should have been, why doesn't that Boks side beat that England side relatively comfortably?
Yeah, I mean, not to take anything away, and I don't want us to get too bogged down on that tackle, because there are good things about where the Boks are going. I don't doubt that. We're chatting here about a narrow loss to England, a narrow loss to the All Blacks at Loftus. The Boks are there or thereabouts with teams that started the year ranked 1 and 2, All Blacks in England, if I remember correctly. So we are getting to a point where we are competing against these teams. That's great. But we've also got to start putting them away, because we were better than the All Blacks at Loftus and we were way better than England at Twickenham. Yeah. And we still couldn't do it. So somewhere along the line, we aren't finishing as we should, and that's, maybe brings us to talking about the bench. Are they making a necessary impact? Or are we not, are we or at the Boks as a team at fault for not being clinical at the set pieces, which is a fundamental. Not clinical enough for goal kicking, that's a fundamental. And when it comes to executing, because they're creating enough opportunities, that's a fundamental. So, where are they in those regards, and can they get there in the time before the World Cup?
I think part of it is a team that's consistent with their first year under a new coach. And I think most of the South African rugby media are fairly generous to whoever is the coach in his first year. Like, this is a team in the first year under Rassie, he's still starting to integrate some of his philosophies about how you close a game like that out, or being more clinical in the red zone, which they weren't. And so there's a argument to be made for the senior players driving like that excellence in execution. So if you're playing with a bunch of 21 to 24-year-olds in the second year of professional rugby, you kind of get it, like you go like, okay, that's consistent with a team with that kind of DNA. But it's not. And so I don't know what the answer is, and I agree that there are more positives than negatives, definitely. But you got to close that game out against England. I think a year from now, South Africa beats New Zealand in that situation and beats England in that situation. But that doesn't excuse them not beating England at Twickenham under those circumstances now.
Yeah, and we can't forget the Boks team will look very different now for the next couple of games on the end of your tour. I think the Boks pack looks far better when Franco Mostert is at 5 and running that line out with Peter Steff at 7. I mean, Peter Steff's taken his game to a whole new level, so he's been great. And then Faf de Klerk and Willie Leroux will come back as playmakers, and we can't underestimate how important they are to that Boks team. And it's just about that little bit of extra experience in 2 key positions, and Willie running things a little bit from fullback, getting the back 3 and the 2 young wingers to calm down perhaps a little bit on defence. And certainly when he joins the line, he makes better decisions. And that probably was also a factor when it came to the way the Boks finished. And just generally the speed of Faf. Speed to the breakdown, speed of service, even speed on defence. He's such a threat around the rucks, whether he's sniping or whether he's actually looking to get in and make a defensive hit on the other halfback.
Yeah, absolutely. All of those things count in the Boks' favour going into this weekend against France. So there's got to be a response. Like, again, France is a team that, in their current state, I think the Boks should be beating. And with those players coming back into the Boks fold, we should have the expectation that the Boks will beat France, even though it's away from home. I'm a little bit concerned, and there's got to be a response from a player like Malcolm Marx, for example. He was just terrible. He couldn't find his jumpers thrice in the first half, I think it was. If that's another player, the criticism of him would be extremely loud. Take, for example, when they substituted Bongi Banambi 20 minutes into the test or something like that against, was it Australia?
Yeah. Just before half-time.
Right? That was like ruthless and warranted, I felt. But So Rassie, I'm sure at the time was weighing up what Marks offers him in different facets of the play versus his line-out struggles. But it looked like a double standard, right? So it's a tricky situation. But if there was a consistency applied to that situation, then the next hooker comes on. But yeah, so Marks needs to respond well, particularly against a French pack that irrespective of who they've got available are always competitive. So there's that issue as well. But I think the France test is going to tell us a lot about where this Boks team is.
Yeah, I think the whole problem for the Boks all year has been that consistency, performing to a certain level one week and then down the next, and we've kind of seen it game to game. So in my mind, you're probably actually going to see the Boks backlash here. I think the kind of fuss they've made around the Farrell tackle has been to a degree to kind of motivate the guys and actually get them quite cheered up, and maybe also to send maybe a message to world
Sorry
rugby.
to break you there, Craig, but like I'd like to start us thinking a little bit more progressively. For me, that is like a dark age mentality, like where a situation like that harks back to the old like stupid days of Springbok rugby and speaks to like really like kind of thoughtless elements, like in terms of like how we approach rugby at a professional level. If you need something like that to motivate you as a pro, then you shouldn't be a pro. Right? We've got to be more sophisticated in our thinking, more emotionally mature. It's a good Boks side, right? That was an isolated incident. You need to divorce the two, right? And that's the most disappointing part about Rassie's response to the situation. Like I thought he was more emotionally mature than that. So you just go like, it is what it is. It's frustrating. Clearly, it was an incorrect refereeing call. But we move on. We go to Paris. We have some fun in Paris, and then move on to the test.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see a more emotionally mature response from the Boks. It's done now. They've responded how they've responded. With situations like this will arise in future. And for me, that's such a trait of the All Blacks. That's one of the reasons I admire the All Blacks so well, away from the game that they play. But it's how Hansen and his team and Kieran Reid deal with situations like this. You don't moan about it. You're emotionally mature. You go, the ref knows he made a bad decision. Everyone that's watched this game knows he's made a bad decision. But life goes on.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that be the defining quality of these Springboks. And it's not at the moment.
Yeah, we can only hope that we see a response on the field. As you say, it needs to, probably what happens on the field needs to stay on the field. And I think we will see a Boks improvement with the players that are filtering back in. I do think the French team is better than some people think. They've actually got some decent forwards, and they'll always have a bit of X factor when they're playing at home particularly. So I think it might be a little bit closer than some people think, but there's no doubt for me that the Boks should beat France on really even any given day, just looking at the two teams on paper and the progress that the Boks have made, and that we shouldn't completely overlook.
So what's your call?
I think Boks by 8 to 10.
So I think like you said earlier on, this is a Boks side that have been inconsistent, yes. But I saw enough from the test against the All Blacks and the test against England to suggest to me that they keep failing forward, right? And so against a team like France, who may not have the weapons or definitely don't have the weapons that the All Blacks do, and can't counter the Springboks in key facets of play in the way the All Blacks did, and to a certain extent what England did, that the Boks will win comfortably. So I'm going 10 to 12 for the Boks this weekend.
Well, great. Thanks, Ryan, and thanks to the viewers. And please let us know in the comment section your views on that tackle and the sort of aftermath that we've seen from that.